This is a story about vision. It is a story about challenging the status quo. It tells us how technology could be more than just circuits and code. It could be personal, it could be beautiful, it could change the world. From these humble beginnings, a revolution was quietly brewing. A revolution that would place the power of the future directly into our hands, forever altering the way we live, work, and connect with one another in ways previously unimaginable. This is the story of Apple, a company that did not just build computers, it built tools for the mind. It crafted experiences that felt intuitive, almost human. Every product was a statement, a testament to the belief that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. They dared to see things differently. While others saw complexity, they saw clarity. While the world saw machines for specialists, they envisioned tools for everyone. This philosophy became the bedrock of their identity, a guiding principle that would navigate them through triumph and turmoil alike. The journey was never a straight line. It was a path filled with immense risk and incredible reward. There were moments of staggering success. There were also periods of profound uncertainty. Yet through it all, the core mission remained unwavering. To create products that enrich people's lives, to push the boundaries of what is possible. This relentless pursuit of excellence transformed a small startup into a global icon, a symbol of innovation that resonates across every continent. Its story is not just about technology, it is a lesson in resilience. From the first personal computer that demystified technology for the average person, to the phone that redefined communication itself, each step was deliberate. Each innovation built upon the last, creating a seamless tapestry of hardware and software. The world watched as a garage project grew into a cultural phenomenon. Its influence extended far beyond Silicon Valley, shaping industries from music and film to health and finance. Apple did not just participate in the future, it actively designed it piece by piece with an artist's touch and an engineer's precision. Before the global stage, there was a quiet friendship. Two young men in California shared a passion: Steve Wozniak, the brilliant engineer; Steve Jobs, the visionary with an eye for detail. Together, they saw a different path. They believed a computer could be more than a tool for large corporations. It could be a companion for everyday people, a device that could empower creativity and unlock human potential. This belief was the seed from which everything else would grow. It was a radical notion in an era of giant impersonal mainframes. Their workshop was not a sterile laboratory, it was a suburban garage, filled with spare parts, ambition, and the spirit of the 1970s counterculture. Here, they were not just building a machine, they were challenging an entire industry. They were proving that innovation could come from anywhere. The odds were stacked against them. They had limited resources and powerful competitors, but they possessed something far more valuable. A shared dream and an unshakable belief that they could make a dent in the universe. This garage became their sanctuary and their launchpad. The world around them was changing. A technological renaissance was dawning, yet most people still viewed computers as complex and intimidating. Jobs and Wozniak wanted to change that perception entirely. They imagined a device so simple, so friendly that anyone could use it. It was about making technology accessible. It was about democratizing power. Their first creation, the Apple I, was a testament to this ideal. It was a starting point, a proof of concept that laid the groundwork for a revolution in personal computing that was just beginning to unfold. This is where our story begins. Not with a product launch or a stock market valuation. It begins with the fundamental human desire to create something new, to build something better. It is a story about how two individuals driven by passion and a shared vision could ignite a spark that would ultimately illuminate the entire world. It reminds us that every great journey starts with a single bold step. For Apple, that step was taken in a simple garage, with the ambitious goal of reinventing the future for all of us. Wozniak, the engineering genius, saw the world in logic. Jobs was the visionary, speaking the language of human desire. He understood technology was about feeling, connecting with people on an emotional level. Their friendship was the catalyst. Their skills were complementary, forming the core of Apple's innovative DNA. Jobs saw the future and was determined to build it, starting in his parents' garage. The Apple I was born from Wozniak's brilliance. Jobs saw its potential, persuading Wozniak to sell it. They funded production by selling his van and Wozniak's calculator. The Byte Shop ordered 50 assembled units, turning the Jobs family garage into an assembly line. The Apple I sold around 200 units. It proved the market for personal computers and gave them the capital for their next project. The Apple I was the first crucial step. With the modest success of the Apple I, the vision grew larger. The garage was no longer enough. Jobs knew that to build the computer of their dreams, they needed a proper company. They needed investment, structure, and a brand. On April 1, 1976, Apple Computer Inc. was officially founded. The name itself was a stroke of Jobs' unconventional genius. It was simple, friendly, and approachable. It stood in stark contrast to the cold corporate names of the established technology giants like IBM and Hewlett-Packard. It was fresh, organic, and memorable. To secure the necessary funding, they needed more than just a great product. They needed a solid business plan and an experienced partner. They found one in Mike Markkula, a former Intel marketing manager who had retired as a millionaire in his early 30s. Markkula saw the same potential that Jobs did. He did not just provide crucial seed money. He brought invaluable business acumen to the young startup. He helped them draft a business plan, secure additional venture capital, and set a course for growth. He was the adult supervision the two Steves needed. Markkula's influence was transformative. He instilled a professional discipline that was previously lacking. More importantly, he helped shape the company's core philosophy. He wrote a one-page paper on marketing that emphasized 3 key points. First, empathy, an intimate connection with the customer's feelings. Second, focus, the need to do a few things exceptionally well. Third, impute, the idea that people form an opinion about a company or product based on the signals it conveys. This philosophy would become a cornerstone of the Apple brand for decades to come. The garage had served its purpose. It was the incubator where an idea was hatched and a prototype was born. But now, Apple was ready to move out into the world. The founding of the company marked the end of the beginning. The dream had become a reality. The team was in place. The funding was secured. The vision was clear. The stage was set for their next act, to create a computer that would not just be for hobbyists, but for everyone. The revolution was about to go mainstream and the world was not yet ready for what was coming next. He envisioned a radically easy-to-use computer, the Macintosh. The inspiration came from Xerox PARC, where he saw a graphical user interface. Users could click icons with a mouse. For Jobs, it was a revelation. He assembled a renegade team. They were pirates working outside Apple. The Macintosh, launched in 1984, was the first mass-market personal computer with a GUI and mouse. It was a statement that powerful technology should be simple and human. To launch the Macintosh, Apple needed a message as bold as the product itself. Chiat Day and director Ridley Scott created a cinematic, dystopian ad inspired by Orwell's 1984. In the commercial, a lone heroine shatters conformity by destroying Big Brother's screen with a sledgehammer. The ad ended with, "On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh, and you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984. Apple's board hated it, fearing it was too provocative. But Jobs and Wozniak insisted it run. It aired once during the Super Bowl, and instantly became a cultural phenomenon. News outlets replayed it, and the ad defined Apple as a challenger to the status quo. It positioned Apple as a force for creativity and liberation, not just another tech company. The 1984 ad didn't just launch a product, it launched a brand identity. It was the first shot in Apple's ongoing campaign to think different. The Macintosh wowed critics, but sales lagged and tensions rose inside Apple. Steve Jobs' relentless drive clashed with CEO John Sculley's focus on profits. The board sided with Sculley, stripping Jobs of power and leaving him a figurehead. Jobs, devastated, resigned in 1985, exiled from the company he'd built. He sold most of his stock and set out to prove himself anew. Apple, now run by professional managers, lost its creative spark. The company drifted, its visionary gone. Jobs' departure marked the end of Apple's first era. Without him, Apple's decline had begun. The product line ballooned into a confusing mess, diluting the brand. Innovation slowed. Apple reacted to the market instead of leading it. Microsoft's Windows eroded Apple's unique edge. By the mid-90s, Apple was in crisis. Market share plummeted, losses mounted. The company became bureaucratic, risk-averse, and uninspired. Analysts predicted its demise. The problem wasn't talent, it was vision. Without Jobs, Apple was adrift, a ship without a captain. The company that once promised to change the world was now fighting to survive. In exile, Jobs founded Next, aiming to build the perfect computer for education and science. The Next computer was a marvel. Beautiful, powerful, but too expensive to succeed commercially. Despite poor sales, Next's software was groundbreaking and influential. Jobs learned hard lessons about business design and leadership. Meanwhile, he bought a small graphics division from Lucasfilm, Pixar. Pixar, under Jobs, revolutionized animation with films like Toy Story. These years shaped Jobs into a wiser, more effective leader. Next and Pixar became creative crucibles for his vision. Jobs' failures and successes outside Apple prepared him for a dramatic return. The wilderness years were a time of growth, not defeat. By 1996, Apple was near collapse, desperate for a modern operating system. The solution: acquire Next, and with it, Steve Jobs. Jobs returned to a company in chaos, bloated, unfocused, and nearly bankrupt. He quickly became interim CEO, slashing projects and refocusing on a few great products. Jobs reignited Apple's culture of innovation and accountability. He launched the Think Different campaign, celebrating rebels and visionaries. The message: Apple was back, honoring creativity and changing the world. Jobs restored Apple's soul and set it on a new path. The fall was over, the comeback had begun. Apple's future would be built on focus, passion, and bold ideas. The stage was set for a new era of innovation. With Apple stabilized, Jobs set his sights on digital music. The industry was chaotic. Illegal downloads and clunky MP3 players ruled. Apple's answer began with iTunes' simple, elegant music management. But Jobs wanted more: a seamless ecosystem and a revolutionary device. The team built the iPod, sleek, intuitive, and able to hold 1,000 songs. Jobs unveiled it with a single promise: 1,000 songs in your pocket. The iPod was an instant hit, marrying form and function. It redefined how people experienced music. The iPod launched Apple's transformation into a consumer electronics powerhouse. It was just the beginning of Apple's next revolution. The iPod's true power was unleashed with the iTunes Music Store in 2003. Before this, acquiring digital music legally was difficult. The music industry was losing against piracy. Steve Jobs met with record labels, presenting a vision: a user-friendly online store, 99 cents a song. The iTunes Music Store was a triumph, selling 1 million songs in its first week. This changed consumer behavior forever, making digital music mainstream. The iPod and iTunes reshaped the entire industry. Apple became the #1 music retailer, influencing the future of media. Integrating hardware, software, and services was key. In the mid-2000s, Apple dominated music. Steve Jobs, ever paranoid, saw mobile phones with music players as a threat to the iPod. His audacious solution: disrupt the iPod themselves by creating their own phone. At the time, phones were clunky with confusing keyboards. Jobs aimed to reimagine the phone using Apple's design and software expertise. Project Purple was born. The key was a multi-touch display, eliminating the physical keyboard. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. It wasn't just an evolution, but a reinvention. The iPhone changed the world and propelled Apple to become the most valuable company. The iPhone redefined the mobile phone. The iPod conquered music. Apple saw an opportunity to create a new category of device, something between a laptop and a smartphone. They envisioned a simple sheet of glass perfect for browsing, email, photos, and videos. The project drew from the iPhone using multi-touch technology. In January 2010, Jobs unveiled the iPad. Despite initial skepticism, the iPad was an instant success, creating a new market. With the iPod, iPhone, and iPad, Apple transformed music, telecommunications, and computing. Each device was a testament to integrating hardware, software, and services to create magical products. In August 2011, Steve Jobs stepped down as CEO of Apple after a long battle with illness. He passed the torch to Tim Cook. Cook was a different kind of leader, an operational genius. His appointment was met with uncertainty. Many wondered if Apple could continue to innovate. Where Jobs was a tempest, Cook was a steady hand. Under Cook's leadership, Apple grew to unprecedented heights, becoming the world's first trillion-dollar company. The first major new product of the Cook era was the Apple Watch. It was the company's most personal device yet. Tim Cook's team embarked on a secret project to design their own custom silicon, tailor-made for the Mac. In 2020, Apple announced the M1 chip. It was a breakthrough, delivering extraordinary performance while consuming less power. The physical embodiment of this era is Apple Park, one of the last great visions Steve Jobs had for the company. From the Apple Watch to the M1 chip and Apple Park, the post-Jobs era has been one of determined evolution. The focus on creating the best products and enriching lives endured. It was an institution built on a set of powerful ideas, ready for the next chapter. The true power of Apple is in the seamless way all its devices work together. This is the ecosystem. This integration is not an accident, it is the result of decades of deliberate strategy. Apple controls the hardware, the software, and the core technologies. This creates an experience that is fluid, intuitive, and deeply satisfying for the user. This interconnected world is often called a walled garden. Within its walls, everything is safe, secure, and beautifully curated. This continuity removes friction from our digital lives. This trust is a cornerstone of the modern Apple brand. The ecosystem becomes a virtuous cycle. As the world filled with Apple devices, the company expanded its focus. The next frontier was building a deep relationship with the customer through services. This marked a significant evolution in Apple's business model. The goal was to enrich the experience of owning an Apple product by offering subscriptions for music, television, news, and more. This strategy created new recurring revenue streams, making the company less dependent on hardware sales. It was a move to complete the ecosystem, adding a rich layer of content on top of the devices people already loved. The shift to services was a masterful strategic move, guided by Tim Cook's long-term vision. This created a powerful financial engine for Apple. Apple's gaze remains fixed on the future, exploring the next paradigm shift in how we interact with technology. Whispers from Cupertino spoke of a device worn on the face, blending the digital and physical worlds. Spatial computing. This culminated in Apple Vision Pro, introduced as the world's first spatial computer. Applications are no longer confined to a screen, but placed in your living room, office, or kitchen. Navigate with your eyes, hands, and voice. The Vision Pro represents a monumental leap in technology, packed with custom silicon, cameras, and displays exceeding 4K per eye. It opens new possibilities for productivity, entertainment, and communication. This is the future Apple is building, a bold bet that is quintessentially Apple. The ecosystem is no longer just about screens, it's about a world we can step into. The revolution continues. The story of Apple is more than the story of a company. It is a story about the power of an idea that began in a garage. They envisioned a future where powerful tools could be beautiful, intuitive, and deeply personal for everyone. This core belief has been the guiding star through every chapter of their journey. It is a philosophy that has not only built a company but has profoundly reshaped the modern world. The ripple effect of Apple's innovations extends far beyond its own products. Apple did not just sell computers or phones, it sold a different way of seeing things. The story does not end here. The future remains an unwritten page, and the drive to reinvent it is a constant, unending mission. Apple's enduring legacy will be defined by its ability to stay true to its core principles while embracing this constant state of flux. The spirit of invention remains the company's most precious asset. The ethos that Steve Jobs instilled remains the company's guiding principle. It is a tribute to the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes. It is that the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do. This belief is the enduring soul of Apple, a company that has always bet on human ingenuity and the power of a great idea to shape a better future for us all. The legacy of Apple is a challenge to us all, to find our own passion, to refine our own vision, and to always think different.